Guys, be careful. The statues are out.
They're too different.
The term diaspora. I actually had to Google it to look up the definition, and while by definition we are part of the Chamorro diaspora to California, but I still to this day do not identify as being part of the Chamorro diaspora.
This kinami.
Well, this was supposed to hook here.
It sort of has this connotation like you're not a real Chamorro because you didn't grow up in Guam.
Is that my circus?
It just feels like, well, you're dismissing all those years that we spent doing everything that we needed to do to survive out here and thrive out here.
See this moss?
Yeah.
They get it from what we're trying to replicate here is the luma that they have at the ones in Guam.
We have a Nobena annually. We cook Chamorro food. We have our obligations and we understand what our role is in the family and how to meet those obligations. So how does that make me less of a Chamorro?
Pushing back a little bit. Aww.
Our annual Nobenan Niñu Jesus is the 9 nights of prayer that we do around Christmas time. There's a daily devotional prayer that we say. We sing traditional Chamorro Christmas songs. Each day it has a story about the anticipation, the waiting, and the arrival of the baby Jesus. And then we have a dinner, and we invite people to come. And throughout the years, we've been doing it since the 90s. It's grown.
Outside we can put it.
Yeah, it's too big for the Belen. So that's what I came back with.
Oh wow!
And the
That's fancy.
I know. I had been wanting for some time to keep instilling in my children some of the cultural traditions. I was telling my mother that I was interested in doing a Nobenan Niñu. And then she said, "Oh, that's very good." Once we had kids, it was kind of enjoyable to see that they could learn a Chamorro song when they'd never spoken Chamorro, and we didn't speak Chamorro to them either. Parishioners of Our Lady of Guadalupe Church in Santa Rita. My parents were very devout Catholics and they were very devoted to their church. Growing up, my kids in turn were raised in the Catholic faith in Santa Rita Church. All the kids were baptized there and it just became a part of our daily lives. To this date, they're very close. That's how we grew up, close-knit. Very close to our parents. We lived right across the way. We needed a cup of rice. We went and borrowed rice. We sent our kids across the way to borrow rice from any of our neighbors because they were our brothers and sisters.
My earliest childhood memory is growing up in Talisay. Talisay is in Santa Rita, and it's this huge piece of land. And you have my grandma's house, and then all around her house were my aunties, my mom's siblings. Honestly, it was the best childhood ever. We were so free. We just had a lot of places to roam, so much space. We could go to each other's houses. We could play in grandma's yard, which was huge. And in the middle of that was this gago tree. I don't know what the American word is for it. And that is where the cousins would hang out. At one point, there was a swing there that we would swing on. Other times, as we got older, it would be where we would sit and wait. So my grandma Zinza on my mom's side, used to watch us after school. Grandma Zinza was a prayerful woman too, very faithful, strong in her Catholic faith.
Ave, Ave.
She used to have a novena. It used to be in July. My earliest memories of that were of kneeling in her living room. She used to have this like an altar set up, and my grandma used to crochet. So I used to have her pieces that she worked on draped over the altar, and then the Tetsas used to come. I didn't know how to speak Chamorro, but I knew how to respond to those prayers in Chamorro. And for my grandma Zinza, what I learned from her is that God was like the center of our family. It held us together. That you do all these things because you have faith, and when times are hard, then you rely on your faith to carry you through. She used to have this saying, and my cousins and I giggle about it sometimes, but she used to say, "I, if that's your only cross." So like when we're teasing each other, if somebody's complaining about, they got my latte messed up this morning, and then so one of my other cousins will text back, "I, if that's your only cross." So we got that from my grandma. I know she experienced a great deal of hardship too, having to be a young lady, experiencing war, being torn from her home, displaced. And at that time, I think when you're going through that kind of trauma, when you have no control, the only thing you can do is pray and have faith. That's what I learned from my grandmothers.
What's your favorite part, Rob? What's your favorite part of the novena?
Missy.
And I like the stories. I remember us singing We Three Kings. And then we sing Frosty the Snowman after.
You never sang Frosty the Snowman.
Yeah, we did.
No, we did.
No, when they were really small, we would sing songs like that.
Oh, and
After.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed
After,
Reindeer.
Yeah,
when he's
Rudolph.
over, they do caroling.
I want to ask Mom, what made you pick this one?
I think
Out of all the novenas Grandma had, what made you pick this one?
like Rob said, as you kids got older, I had this need to stay connected in some way to how I was raised. And like you said, Grandma had all of these novenas, but I thought that the Christmas novena, the Nobenan Niñu, would be the more meaningful for you guys in terms of passing on that tradition, because not everybody can connect with anything related to Christmas, right?
Right.
And at the time, I didn't know that everybody else would be, drawn to what we were doing. And so it is gratifying to know that people can reconnect or can talk about it in a way that preserves the memories.
We were older and started to have more and more responsibilities. Our trips to Guam became less and less. Because, so then the novena was more like a piece of Guam that we could hold on to, I guess, for me. I don't know about, I don't speak for Rob, but since we couldn't be there, at least we could do this thing. We could do this novena and still feel like we were respecting, honoring our cultural traditions.
There's a lot of history that was, I guess, spoken here.
We have a lot of history here, like a lot.
There was nobody had to teach us how to be Chamorro. It was always felt like Guam was our home, and we were just here for, second home, or this was like all business in California. In the beginning, I was under the impression that we were here temporarily. We were just living here, and it was because of Dad's job And at some point, we were gonna go back, but life happened and we didn't go back. Guam is one thing, right? But for us, growing up, it was like Talisay, grandma's house, granny's house in the village.
Corazon Santos Malagueham.
My granny is my father's mother, and she lived in the village in Santa Rita, not too far from the church. She was a very prayerful woman. She was the one who taught me how to say the Our Father. She taught me how to say the Hail Mary. For someone to have gone through what my granny went through at such a young age, being 18, 19 years old during World War II in Sumai, and having to leave her family. When all these hardships happened to her, I think there was nothing else she can do but have faith that this was what God intended for her and that He was going to help her through it.
Our family's always been big into the faith, but in my case, for whatever reason, maybe not so much. I think I have a really good relationship with God, but I'm not so good relationship with the church. So that's tough, right? Coming from Our Lady of Guadalupe Church in Santa Rita, it's very structured, it's very Chamorro, it's very, I don't know if my ideals fit with what it means to be a Chamorro with faith. And that's why the Nobenan is like, hey, I don't go to church, but I'm gonna go to the Nobenan.
Okay, pour it in there, and then we'll strain it. Because don't worry about the seeds or anything like that.
I try to not so much to teach them how to be Chamorro as more to how to be a part of this family. This is the history of it, and that was all based on our cultural values. That's what it's about. It's not about the t-shirts or the tattoos or whatever, right? Or the reggae music. That's not what our parents instilled in us.
I started out as a airport customer service agent with Pan Am in 1970, and the early 80s, Pan Am was at the brink of downsizing. The writing on the wall was, I don't think there's going to be much of a future for Pan Am in Guam. Another opportunity came up where I could follow my job back into the West Coast.
Andy also ventured into a business where they were servicing airlines in terms of ground maintenance and operations, and so we had a lot of nephews in our family. We opened up our home to them in order to enable them to seek other things.
One of the cousins from Guam, he wanted to come out here and establish a life or try it out. They used to always say that, Uncle Andy has that company, let's go try it out. And they get exposed to that environment, and I believe a lot of them kind of fell in love with it. So then it was 1, then it was 2, and then at the height of it, I believe there was 17 people living here, and they all either worked for Monarch and then moved on to do other things, or they were still working there. My dad would give them a chance.
As our family from Guam started to make their way out here to the States, quite a few of them would come and stay at Joshua Street, my parents' house. Their house kind of became like, quote unquote, the Talisay of California. It just became like the place where people gathered for celebrations or when things were hard. I hope that they knew that they could come here. They were welcome here.
When we plan our novena celebration, I think it was an opportunity to introduce some of the traditional foods.
Nagolagun Suni, or the Padulalo, or
the Kelaguen, which is very popular.
Chicken Kelaguen is a very, very simple process. It's not hard to make Kelaguen. You have to barbecue the meat, let the meat cool off where you can debone the chicken, and then just chop it into a million pieces. Once that's completed, then you would have to add lemon and salt, of course.
Well, the usual onions.
Peppers.
Don't use your hand, boy. Use the edge of the coconut. There you go. Turn it. There you go.
Kelaguen is a staple, like I said, because people relate to it as a Guam food.
So when we prepare Kelaguen, we make more than what we anticipate because of the baluta. It has been our custom to tell our guests before they leave to take some of the food home. So there's always a lot. We make more than enough so that people can take some home.
Hail Mary, full of grace, Lord is with you. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God. I'm the titsa for my family's annual Christmas novena. She's the one who's going to tell you what we're going to pray, guide you through the prayers, sing the songs, and kind of just like a guide. We've always kind of had like a reverence for them. Whenever the Tetsa came to the house, when she arrived, everybody had to be on their best behavior. And I think it was just this idea that this Tetsa was going to help us get through, kind of like send our prayers up.
We always appreciate that you guys take the time to join us. We had a very good year. There were some highs, there were some really, 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 really sad lows, but we're still here, we're grateful, and we're really blessed. And so today we would just like to pray together and celebrate.
I honestly cannot tell you that I've always wanted to be a tetsa. Through the years, like being with my granny, my dad's mom, or my grandma, my mom's mom, praying with them, doing these novenas with them, that it kind of just, it was like a natural thing, particularly in my family because I'm the only girl.
All-powerful and eternal God, Lord of heaven and earth, who is seen by the small ones.
Si Jesus ang ginigimablaw grasya, si Jesus gagi sa hako. Batunen tri todo si famalanza matunef na nagumasiso.
It is my dream, my ultimate dream, to be able to say a novena or a rosary in Chamorro. There's this thing, it's my own thing, where I'm embarrassed, I'm ashamed of my accent, I don't want to say it wrong. It's so beautiful when you hear the tetsas on Guam, when they say the rosary, it's so, I get goosebumps. And for me to try and replicate that or try and do it myself, I feel ashamed. So I always my brother's always telling me you should do it in Chamorro. I'm like, no, I can't.
Ave Maria Purísima, Ave Maria Bulahal Gracia, Buenas Vidas.
I guess through the songs and the prayers, it's a way to at least give them a little piece of my culture. Keep it alive, I guess, is what my goal is.